What's up, narrators? Morris is back here again for another episode of the Narrators Per Possession podcast. I'm excited for today. So excited. I'm going to get, let me just get all the housekeeping stuff out of the way first. As always, please like, subscribe, leave a comment in this video, share this with your friends. Very much still in the building mode of Narrators Per Possession. And this is, to me, a landmark moment here in this journey we've been on with the pod this summer. I'm excited to bring up none other than the definitive NBA comedian. You've seen him in the NBA Bit. You've seen him with Trayvon Edwards. I'm blanking right now on the podcast they do, but it's amazing. I know it's on the Count the Dings Network. He's going to tell us more about that. And I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to bring him up right now. Mike Zakarian, welcome to the Narratives Per Possession podcast, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, what's up, Mo? It's good to like officially meet you in chat. I know we've like gone back and forth via Twitter or DMs or in the chat of other shows. So it's nice to officially be a part of the Narratives crew.
Yeah, and you know, I know I said in one of the preview tweets I did, like this is exciting because when I think about like the whole vibe of what I've been shooting for with Narratives Per Possession, you know, trying to make fun and insightful NBA content. I mean, to me, you are like the embodiment of it. So like,
Thanks, man.
I'm just grateful to have you on, man. I'm excited to talk about, you know, you're fresh off of, you know, coming back from Vegas. We're going to get into some Celtics as well. And just other cool stuff, man. So First of all, just how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. You say fresh off of Vegas. I don't know if anybody's fresh after a trip to Vegas. I feel like my body and mind is slowly coming back to life after that experience being out there for far too long. Whenever you plan the trip to Vegas, you're like, oh yeah, I should get out there like a day early so I can get a feel for it. And then you don't need to be out there a day early. It's not the point is not to be there longer than you need to be, which I continue to do every single time. But I'm good, man. Just enjoying what is kind of like a quiet part of the offseason. I know we had like some Clipper stuff, but outside of that, it's been like, you know, a little calm the last week or so, especially with Summer League wrapping up. So just kind of enjoying some of the downtime right now and then getting ready to ramp up again.
Yeah, we are now hitting that lull period. Is the quiet part of no, you know, we're beyond Summer League. We're beyond mostly all the off-season stuff, and now we just have to wait till like training camp.
Yeah.
With that, so yeah, I would love to hear more about like that experience for you, like being on location, being in Vegas, seeing the games. Just like lay it on me, man. How was
it? Have you ever been out to
I have not
Summer League?
I have not yet, and that's quickly becoming. I think it will have to become a bucket list kind of thing with me. Is like, you know, keep talking hoops.
Yeah, so it was I think this was the 5th or 6th consecutive year we've gone out. And I'd never even thought about going out when I was younger. And then I think the first, it must have been 5 years ago. It must have been like 2020 or 2021. There was just some like murmuring in the community being like, oh, we should go out and do something like that. And so we went out that first time just to experience it with no like real plans or anything like that. And we had a good group come out, and then like, so the people that didn't make it, they felt a little FOMO. So then we ran it back again the next year. And so, yeah, this being the 5th year, and we had, you know, I want to say like close to 30 people from the community come out, and we've done a very good job of planning it now, where before it was just kind of like, oh, we'll see what happens. But now we did a good job of being like, all right, we're going to go to games on Friday and Sunday as a group. Saturday, we did like a pool day. We did a happy hour. We did some hangs. So it was a really good experience, and always just really cool to watch basketball in that environment. It feels kind of insane to see it in like what feels like an AAU tournament style gym almost. Yeah. And then you got like Trae Young courtside, who's like 5 feet from you or whatever, or Patrick Ewing kind of walking around. So it's this real like just like a friendly environment. Like everybody, the players that are there seem to lean into it a little bit more. They understand it's like a cool way to connect with the fans. So it's been, I highly recommend if anyone's ever been on the fence with it. You just have to deal with 120-degree weather in Las Vegas, but outside of that, it's a great time.
Yeah, it seems like with each passing year, I've become more aware of NBA Summer League in Vegas. It really is turning into almost like an annual convention kind of dynamic for the league.
I will say the more that I've gone out there, it is far more enjoyable as like a community hang than it is to go watch basketball because like, I mean, it's still really cool. I was able to get in there Thursday right before I like landed an hour before the Cooper Flag Bronny game. And so was able to get over to the gym before that started. And that is still like, it's an electric environment. People are really jacked up to see it. Seeing somebody like Dylan Harper or Edgecombe, like there is still energy around it. But for the most part, the basketball isn't awesome. So, but what is awesome is it's all like-minded people who are just very excited to take in hoops. Like very rarely are non-NBA sickos going to summer league. So everybody's got kind of like the same mission in mind when they're there. So it's a really good like networking community hang. It's like you said, it's almost like a convention now. It's like Comic-Con for the NBA.
Yeah. Were there any conversations you were able to have with like any NBA players, luminaries, past or present, while you're there?
I would say I like bumped into Trey Murphy, just kind of coming around the corner after leaving the Wynn buffet. Didn't really talk to him outside of just giving him like, oh, what's up? Outside of that, that was about it. I did accidentally meet Zach Kleinman, I believe the president of basketball operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. And it was just because I was talking to my friend Keith Parrish from Fast Break Breakfast. He's also done some stuff on the Daily Pod on the Athletic NBA Daily Show. And I was just chatting with him in this like goofy ass Luke Cornett shirt. and he just came over to say hi to Keith. And I just happened to be there. And it's just funny for him to introduce himself. Like, oh, Zach Kleinman. I'm like, oh, Mike Zakarian in a Luke Cornett superfan shirt. But that was really it. And then it was like catching up with some friends that I've met over the years. Like we went and saw the No Dunks. They did a live show over at Mandalay Bay, which was a lot of fun. High degree of difficulty doing a live show in a sports book in Las Vegas on a Friday afternoon. And they pulled it off. It was a lot of fun. So more of that, but players were everywhere though. There were truly like, Ant-Man was there for a little bit. LeBron, of course, was there. I believe my buddy Justin and Steve from the 89 Cavs, who it's like a comedy basketball podcast we do. They went to see Nas, I believe that's Saturday night. Oh
yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Yeah. And LeBron was at the Nas concert, which was a good time. So yeah, it is. It's kind of a surreal experience. Just seeing everybody's kind of on the same level there.
Yeah. It's just almost like, even just listening to you just say it the past second, like the thing that just popped in my head is almost like it's like some kind of like Simpsons episode almost that doesn't like fully make sense that like you have all these things converging all at once.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of it's a bizarre environment. Fun though, like a fun bizarre. And it's also been kind of interesting to see it grow like over the last 5 years too, because I think the first couple of years we were out there, I would say like not that it was dead, but it was definitely different. It was a different energy where this year, this specifically Wemby, this happened the Wemby year too, but this year specifically, like people were in their seats early for the basketball games. And I would say like my first 2 years out there, because basically what happens is you get in at noon, the games start at noon and they just like run concurrent games in 2 gyms all day long. And like towards the end of the day, you would start to see it like really fill up. But now, I mean, like you couldn't, the side gym, the auxiliary gym, you had to get there early in order to get in. So it's kind of nuts to see how quickly it's growing. And of course, that means it's getting a little bit more expensive now that the NBA is like, let's make some more money off of this. But yeah, still such a cool experience and like a family friendly one too. You don't usually consider Las Vegas as a family friendly experience, but definitely for summer league.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so the basketball, and I would agree with you, right? So the basketball, right, is more or less like glorified pickup. It's not great basketball, but I mean, can you speak to at least like, that, like, so you saw Cooper Flag's first game, like in person. So like, what was that dynamic like of seeing Flag in person? Because I mean, he always pops. Every game I've seen him on TV, like he just pops.
Yeah, it's the only time I've seen like a crowd go nuts for a missed dunk. And I don't know if people listening remember this, but I think it was late in the first half. He just kind of splits down the lane and like takes off from near the foul line. And I forget who it was, just almost put somebody on a poster and he missed it. But still, it was like insane to see it happen. I think the way that I've been approaching Summer League with actually consuming the basketball and trying to take anything away from it. It's just looking for dudes that look comfortable out there. And there's no science behind any of that. And it's like, I don't even know how you would break that down. But like, you can tell, I think you can tell the guys that look like they understand, like, not their role, but like the flow of the game. Because there's a lot of guys there that are either playing for like a two-way, they're playing for a European deal, right? They're just trying to make some sort of cut. So there's a lot of like frenetic energy during those times. But there are certain guys that are out there that are just like, oh, they are comfortable. And I know I'm going to talk about the Celtics in a little bit because I'm a Celtics fan, but I get to see Hugo Gonzalez play. That was their 28th overall pick for the Celtics. And he was another one. He just like looked comfy and cozy, regardless of like what his stat line looked like. Another example, I thought Bronny James looked very comfortable too. Like he looked very in control of what he was doing at all times. And I think that's a positive sign, and you expect that from guys who have already had some NBA or at least some G League experience, right? But it's still a good sign to see that. So that's always kind of what I'm looking for, just like guys that look comfortable. And Cooper, for sure looked comfortable. So did Dylan Harper. I thought he looked awesome out there. I really like Trey Johnson too. Was able to see a little bit of him for the Wizards. He's another one that he's like, oh, he's just going to get to the bucket. He's going to score.
Yeah. I would add to that two guys for me that I came away very impressed with. One, Carter Bryant. And shameless plug. We pushed out a Narratives Per Possession weekly newsletter about Carter Bryant, and he was a revelation to me, just seeing like the level of defensive effort he brings to that court. And maybe this is a hot take for some, but I truly do believe if the Spurs hit on that upside in Carter Bryant this season, that plus Wemby, I would be shocked if the Spurs are not top 10 defense in the NBA.
Nah, yeah. And I mean, even if he's just impacting the game on that one end, I think that'll be enough, considering you have like the Wemby, Fox, Vassell. You got other guys that can do the offensive side of things. If he can just, if you have to at least guard him and he's able to defend at that high level, I totally agree. Yeah, that's going to, again, another draft, another Spurs A+ job, right?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like for a while, like, especially once they traded last season for Fox, like, it was kind of like a new generation of Spurs front office scene where, they are going to make big splashy moves versus, like, just build through the draft. But at the same time, like, I look at what they have now between Carter Bryant and Harper, and it looks like the old-fashioned Spurs Death Star is back, actually.
I mean, and it's too like soon to write the story on Rob Dillingham, but even just thinking about that trade and taking like a future Minnesota first-round pick for the Dillingham trade last year, like they still have these assets to continue to build around the young core, but also still have enough ammo if they want to make a move this season. I think they are going to be one of the more interesting teams, like come Christmas time, to see where they are standings and records wise, and to see how they're going to act heading into the trade deadline. Because I mean, the West is so freaking competitive, so who knows? But I'm with you. If they are able to defend at that high level and just get like, not even an A+ Fox season, like a B Fox season, and Castle gets a little bit better and Harper impacts, like they are going to be so dangerous.
Yeah, because it's just in a matter of two seasons, basically, they've gone from like, there are people who are super critical of why the Spurs are running so handy point guard.
Right.
When they're going to build a real team around Wemby. They're going to waste Wemby. Wemby's going to ask out. Like, it looks like they have the right roster you want around Wemby. I was just looking at their roster. Like, I don't think they actually have they will not have a rotational piece or player on that roster that's like less than 6'5". Like, it's going to be a formidable roster this season.
I mean, Keldon Johnson was on the Olympic team, and he's going to be like their 9th guy. Right? Like and I know this was like 2 Olympics ago, but he was like, he's like a young talent. He can still fill it up. And if he's your, 3rd scorer on the team, you're probably not pumped. But if you just need him to play like 20 minutes off the bench, it's a pretty good spot to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then actually, I mean, like, I guess like, preview leaning into it a bit. I mean, they pick up, your dear friend Luke Cornett, friend of mine as well. He is former Bull. He was funny. I'm proud of Luke Cornett, to be honest.
Yeah,
because,
man.
He's had a journey.
Dude, I forgot about this. Somebody brought it up in another video we did like a few months ago, I forgot he was like a 3-point shooter when he was with the Knicks. Like that's what he was doing. He was stretching the floor.
Yeah.
And I think he took maybe a 3 in his entire career with the Celtics, and to sort of see how he like transformed his game. Yeah, and I forgot they got Kelly Olynyk too, I think, right? Didn't they
Yeah,
pick
they
up
picked up Olynyk.
Kelly O? So just if you were a white big guy from Boston at some point, you will end up on the San Antonio Spurs roster.
It seems that way. But again, it's just I think those acquisitions they don't scream flashy, they don't scream like things that like you should pay attention to. But I think the nuance in that is there's going to be maximum versatility options for Wemby this season because you can now put Wemby out there with legitimate bigs where Wemby doesn't have to necessarily be the big.
Mm-hmm.
He can just slide him down the roster 1 through 5. I think it's going to be interesting.
So many different ways to play. I'm very excited to watch them. I think they're going to be a fun team.
Yeah. I didn't realize we were going to go into a whole Spurs segue, but
that's
cool. But the other rookie in summer league that really popped to me, and rightfully so, that he arrived at the championship game and tournament, Concanupo.
Oh yeah.
I think I've grown in my Concanupo fandom since the NCAA tournament last year, where when I saw him in the Final Four, that's probably like the first time I was really paying attention to him because, of course, Cooper Flagg was just like a draw for all those Duke games. But I think he's just a really solid fundamental player. And if he does nothing more than ever just be like the second coming of like Mike Dunleavy Jr. or something like that, I think he's still a wildly impactful NBA player.
I totally agree. And again, like going back to that comfort thing, he seemed very comfortable out there the entire summer league run. It seemed like he was like can morph into a different type of role player depending on the scenario. And I mean, Charlotte doesn't have a lot of those guys right now. Like I don't want to call him a glue guy because I think that's underselling what Canupa can do, but like it's LaMelo or it's Bridges and Brandon Miller. Like they don't have somebody that can just kind of plug holes a little bit. And I do think that's what he's going to be able to do. They're another fun. I mean, I think they're still going to be pretty bad, but I'm excited to watch them a little bit more this season, especially if they can just stay healthy. They don't really have any sort of front court right now, but I am like one of the guys that I was hoping the Celtics were actually going to get was Ryan Cockbrenner, who out of Creighton, I think, is it Creighton?
I believe, yeah, Creighton.
Yeah, and he ended up with Charlotte, and I think him and Moussa Diabate are going to be like the two bigs there. And so I mean, I think they could be a fun league pass team that's going to lose a ton of games. But I'm with you. I kind of liked what we saw from Canupa. I'm looking forward to see how he plays with LaMelo.
Yeah. I want to bounce this question off of you just to get your thoughts on this. And I have to shout out one of my friends in the Bulls community, Big Dave Watson. He covers the Chicago Bulls for in Chicago, the All City affiliate there, CHGO.
Oh, cool.
He posed this question, and it's actually been lodged in my head now for a couple of days because I think this could be an interesting storyline potentially for the Hornets. Would you try to cash in on LaMelo Ball this season? Depending on like the trajectory you see with Khan and Kalkbrenner for that matter.
Yeah, man, that's such a tough question. I feel like LaMelo's value is kind of low right now due to like injuries, how he drives both on the court and off the court. But I think there is a little concern about LaMelo's ceiling, and I still think he's got like stardom potential. I think it's hard to judge LaMelo with what Charlotte has been, right, for his entire career. It's just kind of been a mess. You got an exciting Brandon Miller season, and then he immediately gets hurt. You have to be teammates with Miles Bridges, who, Google it. Like they don't have front courts. It's just like a weird situation. I am a fan of Charles Lee, and so I kind of want to see one more year with LaMelo because their point about it, like Chicago being interested in LaMelo, hell yeah. Like I think if I'm a team that is trying to buy low on somebody that has, third team all NBA ceiling, absolutely. And he's still super young. But if I'm Charlotte, it's like, well, what you're going to try to rebuild the guy? Like that's the type of guy you would like to rebuild with, unless the relationship is deteriorated so poorly that you're like, we just have to get him into a new situation. But I think that would be silly for Charlotte to do it at this point. But Charlotte loves to be silly. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But man, if I was a Chicago fan, yeah, I'd be doing whatever we could to kind of grab a young piece like that, because I think it's worth the risk of what we've seen the last like couple seasons from him.
Yeah, and well, yeah, actually, I'd have to go back. I'm not even sure if I don't think Dave was suggesting like the Bulls acquiring per se, but just more generally like oh, maybe just the Hornets should go ahead and just like try to get whatever return they can get on LaMelo right now and just switch gears with Khan and Calburn.
Yeah.
But to that point, I think that's an interesting point as well, because not to delve too deeply into the Bulls, but right now, I mean, it's kind of like a restricted free agent quandary
right?
that the Bulls are having with Josh Giddey, and that there's a pretty, I won't call it a significant gap, but it's definitely an impasse in terms of what the Giddey camp has been asking for versus not what reports are saying the Bulls are offering.
Yeah, they seem far away.
There was a report the last few days or so that said basically the Bulls front office has not offered anything more than $20 million AAV for 4 years. Josh Giddey has been like continually reported for the entire season as wanting $30 million, which is like on par with, I believe, Quigley or not Quigley.
No, I think you're right though. I think Quigley's almost getting yeah. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I honestly, it feels like they should just come to the middle and just give him 25. And if he doesn't like that, be like, what 25 for 3 then? And then you can get back into the market in 3 years. But I don't know. I like Giddey, man. I am still a Giddey believer. I don't know how real the 3-point shooting was the second half of the season, but man, he screwed you guys out of a better draft pick. He was playing so freaking good. But back to the Charlotte thing, the one thing I would say, if Charlotte front office has already decided they're out on LaMelo, then I would just hope he is healthy for the first 2 months and he puts up like 28, 10 and 6 or something for the first 2 months. And then I would look to move. Like I would at least try to rebuild that value, because I think you're selling at the floor of LaMelo if you're doing it right now. I saw Mike Weisberg is in the chat, which good to see that he came over. But he mentioned that LaMelo's barely played like any games. He was like 51, 75, 36, 22, 47. Like that's the floor of LaMelo, right? Wouldn't you want to just try to build up that value a little bit more?
Yeah. That's a tricky it's a tricky needle to thread, right? Because I mean, I can say it I've seen it firsthand from the perspective of his brother Lonzo.
True.
It's if you're banking on trying to get like a value bump, and it's also when the health is a factor, perhaps there's a case to be made that like you might just have to take the best thing that comes at you,
right?
Because I would say from a Bulls stand, quite frankly, I wasn't all that thrilled with the Bulls extending him. When especially there were reports that there was a first round draft pick offer the Bulls could have just took in for LaMelo at the trade deadline last year. You go and you extend them for $10 million, which is nominal, but then like then you go and trade for Isaac Okoro. And I'm not like I have to see what Okoro looks like in a Bulls jersey, but I know what that track record is, and it's
right.
There's some arguments to be made, at least within the Bulls fan community, that like you had a pretty solid like recouping of Lonzo's value, and you just kind of like did nothing with it.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Hey, thank you, Mike, for jumping in the chat. Thank you for your comments, Wells. And Mike, hit on the current state of the RFA market in general. It is a tough. Like I don't envy any of these restricted free agents. They all want something over 25 billion. The market is just not there, and it's kind of like, I think to your point, right? And I'll just like keep leaning on that point you made about Josh Giddey. To me, I think the reasonable concession or the compromise, really both sides of that negotiation should live with, is probably sounds like it needs to be a 3-year deal. And then if you land somewhere between 20 million and 20 million, 25 million per year, I think that's as best you could get. I mean, otherwise, Giddey, you 25 million is more than 11 million qualifying offer.
Right. Just like get it, and then I don't know. I'll play the contract, hit the market again in a couple of years, and then hopefully there's a like a thirstier market for it right now. But nobody's got cash. Nobody's got money.
Nobody got cash, and I mean, I think I've been critical. To be fully transparent, I've been very critical of Josh Giddey since he joined the Bulls. I was writing about the Bulls all of last season. I'm still skeptical. I'm not bought into like what he did in the second half of the season. I have to see it for the complete season. And
Right.
I mean, I'm just a guy that just watches basketball. I have to think that like front offices with way more intel, way more sophisticated proprietary models, like they're probably asking questions about that 3-point shooting as well. Like,
Right.
He definitely should. I just think Josh Giddey should not put the cart before the horse as far as the big money.
Yeah.
Because like he could play on that, if he gets like a 2-year deal with the player option on the third, like you could definitely play yourself into like a legitimate max contract if you truly believe in yourself in that way. I think that's really where he needs to go with it.
Yeah, and I mean if the 3-point shot is real, like if he does that for a full season, that drastically changes what his ceiling is as a player, right?
Yeah.
Like, because that's like, you can be okay defensively, but you can't be like subpar defensively and not shoot the 3 ball. You're just not going to be out there enough. And so now if he can prove that he can do that, I also love comparing it to Emmanuel Quigley being like, well, IQ got that. And it's like, yeah, that was also a bad deal. That was a bad, like, yes, he did get it, but that's because Toronto made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I have yet to see like the All NBA selection Emmanuel Quigley's game because of that contract.
Right. Right.
So yeah, just just a little bit of awareness. But all good stuff, man. Let's talk about your Boston Celtics. You are our debut Boston Celtics
Huge
fan here. Is just to like sort of recap the season, defending world champs for the 24-25 season. By all accounts, like wildly successful season. I think what most people, Celtics fans, are not expecting. I mean, you just ran through solidly through the season, top 10 offense, defense. The tragedy hits, unfortunately, in the second round against the Knicks, right, where Jason Tatum tears his Achilles, kind of takes the air out of the series, and end up getting put out by the Knicks in 6 games, right? Tough way to end the season. And a lot of changes are already starting to take place. Like, where are you as a Celtics fan right now with what the Celtics have done this offseason? Where are you kind of like what is your best crystal ball guess of like the way this upcoming season is going to play out for the Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting listening to like Boston Celtics brass talk about where they're going, but their actions seeming a little bit different than what their words are saying. Like they're saying, "Oh, we're not tanking. We still got a really competitive team." Blah blah blah. To me, this feels like a gap year where, shout out was it the 2021 Golden State Warriors? I forget maybe 2020, where they ended up landing Wiseman. I know it didn't work out, but it was just kind of this scenario where everybody's hurt. We're probably not going to be able to make any sort of considerable noise. And then, I mean, like everybody take a drink. We're going to talk about the collective bargaining agreement, but like in the current like state, it like they can't afford to bring back those pieces. And honestly, it made it easier for them with no, of course they didn't want Tatum being injured, but the Tatum injury made it easier to rip the Band-Aid off of Porzingis, Andrew Holiday, and to be like, hey, we're just going to straight up salary save here. And again, they're saying they're not going to tank, but like their front court is Luka Garza, Nehemiah Queta, and Xavier Tillman right now. And like all 3 of those guys are really good third string centers. You know what I'm saying? Like they lost 3 front court guys that were ahead of Nehemiah Queta and Xavier Tillman. Yeah. Like Porzingis was ahead of them, Cornette was ahead of them, Al Horford was ahead of them. All right, so that our starting center was our 4th string center last season. I'm sorry, you can't run that roster on them being like, we got a shot this year. Eastern Conference Finals or bust. So I think they are clearly shutting it down. I would be stunned if you see Jaylen Brown play more than 65 games or Derek White. I think that's the way I think they should do it. The draft is loaded. They have their 1st round pick. Just like shut it down for a season, get Tatum back healthy. I will say I started getting myself excited about Damian Lillard. It did seem like he was going to come cheap to Boston. And then the Trailblazers gave him a bucket of money. But I did talk myself into that because I was like, man, if Dame's not playing this year, Tatum's not playing this year, but you get them both back next season, Dame on the cheap. I did get excited about it, but I don't know. You're somebody on the outside of the Celtics fandom because like the people inside it right now are still talking themselves. They're like, the East is bad. Jaylen Brown, all NBA. That's like a 4 seed. And like, maybe it is a 4 seed, but I feel like they are downshifting for a 1-year tank and then come back. Is that what it looks like to you on the outside?
I have to confess, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
here's the move that I think there's a couple layers to this. I have to be honest. Like when they picked up the old minivan Georges Niang, like
Yeah.
that was an interesting move to me. And like what's implicit in that, I lived in Philadelphia for a few years. I have Sixers fans, so like I have some history with the minivan, and
Yeah.
it's not to say that like I'm not knocking him or his abilities at all. That's just like I don't think that's the guy that's like a headlining free
No.
agency move if you're trying to go all in on the title. Like he can do some things for sure.
Well,
but
and if he was listed as like 9th on the team, you're okay. But like right now, he's a projected starter. He's supposed to start the 4. Like, what are we talking about? I don't even think it's a hot take. I kind of think Niang, Sam Hauser, and Anthony Simons by like Christmas are probably all on different teams. Or maybe the deadline. Let's say the deadline. But I think all 3 of those guys are probably gone.
yeah, just I'm looking at the Celtics financials now on Spot Rack. Is this actually quick question? Because I think I was listening to Zach Lowe yesterday and he said Spotrack.
I've always said Spotrack too, but then the way you said it, I'd never heard anybody else say it. So I was like, shit, maybe that is how you say it, and that's my bad.
I don't trust me because like I realize I've probably been saying this all silly like the whole time.
I've always said
Spotrack.
Spo. Yeah.
Okay. You learn something new every day.
There you go.
But so I am looking at the financials. I mean, at this point, like the tanking or call it like seeking cap flexibility, it's the goal. The goal line there is pretty clear at this point.
Right.
The Celtics are going into this 25-26 season. They're only like $332,000 above the second apron. So I think your suspicions are highly probable. Where probably some more moves happen to get out of that second apron, and perhaps ideally get out of the aprons altogether. If you're not gonna have Tatum this season.
Yeah, and I think like Hauser is somebody. It's funny because I think people are probably more excited about Anthony Simons just because that's a name they've seen highlights of, and he's making like 27 million. But I actually think Hauser could have the best return. As Weisberg saying he doesn't think that Hausberg is going to get dealt. I think like if you get to like the Pistons, for example, and I don't know the Pistons roster situation, so I'm just throwing this out there as a hypothetical. But if the Pistons are like 10 games over 500, we're approaching the All-Star game, or the All-Star break. Duncan Robinson's only shooting like 32% from 3. I can see them being like, "Oh man, let's go fire out a first-round pick and let's go get Sam Hauser in there." Like somebody that's a career 40+% 3-point shooter and like can defend better than he looks. So I do think Sam Hauser could actually have the biggest return. Simons, I don't know who's breaking the bank for Simons, especially because it's an expiring deal. I don't really know, but my guess is 2 of the 3 for sure are gone. But depending on how the Celtics get off to a start, like, because again, they, if it gets to Christmas and they are above 500, maybe the Celtics are like, hey, look, the East sucks, man. And Jaylen Brown's playing like, not MVP level, but like top 10 level. Maybe they're like, let's let this thing rip and see what happens. But
yeah,
I just don't. With the East getting better with like Atlanta and Orlando and Detroit, like I don't see it happening.
Well, Simons is being expiring this upcoming season. He definitely could be the fire escape from the aprons altogether. He's making $27.6 million in this last season of his contract. Right. So certainly, like he probably should be on the Celtics roster by February. And I agree with you. Sam Hauser probably is the best bet for return. Getting a good return. His contract is still amazing. He's locked in until the 28-29 season, and he's only by the 28-29 season, his contract will he'll earn $12.4 million in 2029. So it's just like amazing value for what he delivers, what he produces.
Yeah, I think I could see a team spending a little bit more for him, but to like kind of Mike's point in the chat, I kind of agree that he'll be like the last one that goes, that would be, something closer to the All-Star break. Cause I don't think the Celtics want to move him. But there we go. We get another Hauser to the Pistons fan. But yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty ugly year. But it's funny talking to a lot of Celtics fans because I run a YouTube channel called the Celtics Daily, where we just kind of fire out a daily video. That's pretty self-explanatory. But they seem like pretty bought in on Anthony Simons. They think he makes a ton of sense with the Celtics. They think I'm underrating Nehemiah Queta, who I think he probably has the best chance of popping. But then they'll be like, yeah, but you don't know Luka Garza and Josh Minot. Like maybe they pop, and I'm like, you're right. Maybe they do pop, and maybe at age 40, I grow 4 more inches. Like I don't think either of those things are happening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, crazier things could happen. I will go back to the minivan because it's like I promise I'm not like super obsessed with the minivan, but I think this will be an interesting thing. All tanking conspiracies aside, I have a real strong feeling that Lawrence, Massachusetts native Georges Niang,
that's right,
in a Celtics jersey inside TD Garden is going to make prolific content. And I say that so I've just seen like his trash talking bag. Like
he's hilarious.
It's going to be insane. Like, am I off base there? Like, what do you expect from the minivan again at home in Boston? Like fully unleashed with no like championship pressure.
It was funny. He came out and said on a podcast episode recently that he was going to be public enemy number 1 in Boston because he's like replacing Porzingis. And I wanted to be like, hey man, nobody thinks you're replacing Porzingis. nobody thinks that. Like, and we all have like memories of a goldfish, dude. Like all it takes is him diving one time, diving for a loose ball one time, and then everybody's going to freak out. So I agree with your take. I do think that the Niang gang will be strong in Boston pretty early. Say if he's still on the Celtics, because I do think, I don't know, he's kind of somebody, he makes sense as like, I don't want to say this generation's Kevin Love. That's like giving him way too much credit. But like the idea of this like older vet on a younger playoff team, like, and he probably doesn't play too much, but and he's not even that old. Like I think he could still impact a team. But like he seems like a good bench guy on a playoff team. But if he stays in Boston, I'm with you. I think he's going to be a fan favorite.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as I followed along with the minivan ever since, I got to know him in the Sixers organization.
Mm-hmm.
Reliable dude in his minutes at least. Where it's like, once he gets to the corner, that is like that's where I've always seen him be his most lethal in terms of like what he contributes on the court. Is like gets into the corner, he can hit those catch and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
He can provide some reasonable resistance defensively as well, like depending on the matchup. So it's like, again, like I'm not clowning him at all. I just like the funny aspect of it is just like knowing how much trash he talks in any game. It like a December game, he is talking trash like it's June. And I just have to think like he's going to be like on 15 wearing a Celtics jersey now doing
fans are I agree with you. They're going to respond pretty well to him, I think.
Mike Weisberg, he said in the chat, he's known he's known the family, which is pretty cool. And I think that's it. Probably, if nothing else, if for some reason the Celtics on court product isn't looking all that great, at least you got the minivan, you got the hometown guy just to cause some chaos. So I think that's a good sort of like framing of your Celtics. So I want to get into more broadly, like I mentioned up front, like you're a person that I have actually found very inspirational for like putting this whole outfit together narratives per possession. And I think it's like what I appreciate about what you're contributing to the NBA world is you're bringing together basketball and comedy. I want to start delving into like just like your comedic background, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but like your primary lane has been improv, but is there other? Well, let me frame it like this: why improv as your preferred comedy lane versus others? And certainly, if you've done other aspects of comedy, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, before I started doing this, I was working in education for a long time and like higher ed as like an administrator, whether it was on like the leadership development side of things or like in the college, the residence life world. When I was, gosh, I was probably like 24, 25. I was working, I was doing a job that was like requiring me to speak a lot. Like I was doing a lot of public speaking type things. And I happened to be living in Boston, was not too far from this place called Improv Boston. I had like seen a show there that I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is really fun. And I was like, let me take a class just to get a little bit better at like, or a little bit more comfortable public speaking, right? The whole idea of, muscle memory. And I was like, if I just do this a bunch, the work stuff will feel easy. And then I ended up just like loving it. I had a really good time with it. I met some like great people. I started performing there pretty regularly. And then I guess that like fast forward a few years, and then I started performing there pretty regularly. Was on like a house team there and the touring company over in Boston, and then I had like such a fun time with it. I was going through some stuff. I was looking for a change. Ended up moving to New York to try to pursue it a little bit more aggressively while still doing the education job. So it was like follow your dreams, but not 100%. Like kept the security blanket of the full-time job. And then I just kept doing it there. And like improv was just my first love. There's something like really exciting about not having a plan and figuring out as you go. It forces like I think all of your almost like Spider-Man shit, like all of your senses have to be like as sharp as possible, forces you to listen a little bit better and communicate a little bit better. So I've always just kind of gravitated towards it and definitely have messed with different forms of it. Like I've done a ton of sketch and stand up as well, but like improv was kind of my first love, and it's been fun seeing like that training and experience get like filtered through this different lens over the last few years instead of just doing it in some like black box theater in New York or something. It's been cool seeing how you can like pull apart some of those things.
Yeah. I've taken an improv class myself. At one of
Oh
my
yeah.
yeah, one of my companies once they offered a free improv class, and I did it just to like have the experience because like I'm a big fan of sketch comedy. Like
Yeah.
I'm a huge Saturday Night Live nerd. I used to watch. I mean, I also like
Are
Saturday
you
Night Live. Yeah,
are
no,
you
go
in
ahead.
Chicago too? I know you're a Chicago fan or have covered the Bulls. Are you in Chicago too?
No, I'm in New York actually.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I did know this. I did know
Yeah.
this. Forget that. We
Yeah.
have talked about that. Forget that.
Yeah, but you say that. So I grew up just over the state line in Northwest Indiana. So I grew up like 30 minutes outside Chicago. In
Okay.
retrospect, I think if I didn't do like my day job is like in tech and all that stuff. Like
Hmm.
if I never did the professional stuff I did, and I also never moved away from the Chicagoland area, there probably is a world where like I would have made at least an attempt or a go at like going over and like doing like Second City or something like
Yeah.
that because I love sketch so much and I do love SNL. I used to watch like also like I was really big in it, like in Living Color. I
Hell
even
yeah.
watched Mad TV for a little
Mad
bit.
TV.
Like
Yeah.
so I've watched a ton of actually I'm probably dating myself too. Like I used to watch like reruns of SCTV. Like that.
Oh, dude, I was gonna just name drop SCTV. SCTV probably the goat out of all of those, honestly.
Yeah, SCTV used to be so good back in the day, man. Like
Yeah, it's different.
yeah, but it's like that's a huge like just that style comedy, but all of like the legends of sketch who like the first 5 seasons of SNL,
Hmm.
John Candy, like all like the greats, Bill Murray, like all these movies from like the
Yeah.
80s and stuff. Like that's a huge influence on like certainly my comedic sensibilities. Eddie Murphy also huge in that,
Oh,
saved SNL. So
yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
um but where was I gonna go with this? So well, I'm also curious about like you go through that experience of you go into improv training, you start doing carving out your own lane with improv and basketball. How's it influenced your approach to being an NBA content creator and talking about the game?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's a good question. I'm probably still like figuring out as I go. I think one of the things that I have excelled in, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, is the live stream of it all, and I think that is where the improv background comes in really well. I think there are. And again, I've been streaming like basically every day for the last 5 years. So now it's like one and the same. But I think being able to interact with the chat And it's funny, it's been kind of like my improv experience, but also like my higher ed leadership development experience, I think kind of came together in this fun way where and I'm sure there's people watching right now from my community that might would disagree with this, but I think I have a good ability of like making people feel like they are a part of the thing. So like we are creating the thing together, whether it is like utilizing the chat, whether it is like highlighting different members within the community. And I think that is kind of where I am able to not like get a leg up or anything like that, but I think that is kind of what separates me from potentially some other people who do the content. And I feel like I'm pretty good at being able to make fun of people, but I make fun of myself at the same time. And so it's never, a punching down, or it's never like, we're all in the same thing together, we're rowing the boat in the same direction and having fun while we're doing it. So I think that is where like really is it kind of shines through, is through some of that. And then honestly, I mean, like just with interviews too, like when having guests on, I'm pretty good at just kind of locking into what the other person is saying. And I think a lot of people, when they first start out, they're like trying to script everything the best they can so they feel prepared, which I do think is important. I think the preparation aspect is very important. But I think so much more of it pops when like the viewer or the listener knows that I'm also listening, right? That I'm also, and so like I might have another question. Honestly, like our conversation about the San Antonio Spurs earlier, like we had a rundown of what we were going to talk about. We weren't going to talk about the Spurs, but we just went down this.
Yeah.
I said a thing, you said a thing, and then we're like locked into what's going on. I find that to be far more engaging for the audience than necessarily like just making sure, well, the host asked the fourth question and now the host asks the fifth question. It's being able to kind of adapt and like float around in between the two.
Yeah. To that point, what something I would piggyback on and add, one of my big creative influences, and perhaps like an underpinning of like just how my mind works creatively. I'm a musician. I love music. Like as much as I love sketch comedy, I probably love music like 10 times more than that. And I'm big into jazz. And
hell yeah,
jazz. I feel like I could teach a philosophy class on that, or like if I had opportunity to be an educator, I would definitely teach a philosophy class, like leaning on jazz, because I think jazz is a great medium that has all those parallels to improv as well.
100%.
It is literally improvisational music, and what I've always learned from it, or what I've picked up from it and appreciated from it, is that people think jazz perhaps is like this chaos or like this like random, like you just do random stuff, but it's very much a structured medium. It's a structured form. You still have chord changes. You know what the chord sheet are, and like everybody needs to be in key. You need to be on the same rhythm, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to literally play the same note
right
prescribed time. It's like it's like a living, breathing organism, and that's to your. And I'm just saying that to your point of like, there should be some level of a structure in it, but improv doesn't mean that like there's an absence of structure.
Yeah, it's such a great point, and I can't speak to it nearly as well as you can as like a real musician. But I played the drums growing up, and then like into college a little bit, and I took a couple of jazz improv classes when I was in high school, and then my freshman year of college. And I remember that unlocking something for me because I was a pretty bad drummer. And then in that class, it was kind of like, listen, man, once you have the timing down, you can do whatever you want. But this is your home base. So do whatever you want over here. Just come back home. Whenever you finish up, you come back to the timing here. You come back to this beat. You bang, 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 bang. But you're coming back here on we're doing blues and C. Come all the way back, right? And that is the same thing with comedy. It's all, it's a timing thing. It's all timing. And it's the same thing with, any sort of like creative endeavor. I think there is some truth to that where like you have, the structure is there as the guideline if you need it, but don't be afraid to like color outside the lines.
Absolutely. And structure is like, that was in my whole journey, even getting to this point where I'm sitting here talking to you. My approach to getting into NBA content creation was really, I just started like at a very base level. I just started tweeting like seriously informed sounding stuff about basketball. I just built it up piece by piece from there to where like, I figured out how to tweet something to get a response, and then expand it out to like, oh, I'm going to write threads. They're basically articles. Like I live tweeted Bulls games for a long time, and that helped me build up a following to get to this moment here. And it's like, structure is that. Yeah, that would be the other thing. It's just there's a structure to everything. It may not always look rigid, but structure doesn't have to be implicitly rigid.
No, I like having the structure. I don't want anyone else to know that I have it. Like that is the goal for every one of my shows. I want it to feel like I want the audience to make it feel like it's kind of chaotic, but I know it's not chaotic. Like I know that there's some stuff that can happen, but I also know I've got a pretty good idea of what we're doing today. But if I can present that it's like, oh, who knows what's going to happen today? Like I think that becomes a more enjoyable experience. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that's cool that that's how you start and that's how it's like developed this way too. Cause that's all it is. Like, I think it's people just throwing stuff against the wall and you're like, all right, what sticks? So like, I'll keep this. Let's get rid of this. Let's start throwing some new stuff. And I'm still there. I still don't know, we've built up a cool following. We've built up a really strong community. I think we've done, there's some things that really pop and then there's some things that I think are going to pop and they don't pop at all. And it's like, why isn't the good stuff popping? But it's like, I don't know. It's an ever learning journey, I think.
Yeah. That's actually, that gives me a good segue into, another question I had for you. I asked this, like, again, like with this podcast, with Narratives Per Possession, what I'm going after is like, I want the content to be fun, but I also want it to be insightful and like, to a degree, honestly, it's kind of cool that you have the education background to a degree, almost like, like a, opportunity for someone who watches this or listens to learn something from it, for it to be a educational experience or inspiring experience. And so that said, the question I would have is like, from your point of view, just zooming out in comedy in general, like what do you believe are like the fundamentals to good comedy?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I like, and I don't even know if I am qualified to even pretend to answer it, but I will give it a shot. I think that gosh, the fundamentals of it. That's such a man. I honestly don't have like a good one for you. I'm trying to think of like the things that stand out to me the most when it comes to this. I always resonate or respond well when it comes from like a place of happiness, like at least in this space, right? In this type of space, when I think about the comedy that I do now, I very rarely want it to come from a place of anger. And I think I like it more. I can think about No Dunks. They are a big like creative inspiration for me. I really enjoy their content. They love what they're doing. And I think that is contagious. And when you see them, they're also very good at the community aspect of it too. They make you feel like you are part of what's happening. But like when they do their bits, you can tell they come from a place of love. And I think that is important. I think it's easy to be, especially on Twitter, like the angry comedian or the contrarian comedian, if you will. And I like, for me, that doesn't resonate. For some people it does. I'm very good, I think, when and I know I'm like barely answering this question, so I apologize, but I know I'm very good at making jokes when I am like fake angry. Like I think when I play like a character of angry, but I think if it comes from a real place of anger, those are the ones that I like regret. Because I think I will, maybe dig a little too deep or punch a little too hard, whether it's up or down. Sometimes it's just not coming from a place of comedy. It's coming from a place of like, spite or jealousy or, you know what I mean? Like it's not coming from a good place. So I basically am like, I think the joke should come from love. That's my fundamental for you.
That's a perfect, I mean, to be honest, that's a perfect answer. And yeah, like, not that there's a textbook of comedy, there are improv classes, but
right.
Like it's not like you go to a 4-year degree program for comedy and you get a comedy degree. Like
right.
It's these are kind of like all like loosely structured, like what principles or axioms or whatever. And I think like it should be personal to a degree. So like honestly, I mean, what you said resonates with me a lot. And I asked the question from the sense again, like, kind of teeing up honestly as a platform for you to like share from a true comedian's perspective, like these are the fundamentals and these are the things, because this would lead me to my next point, kind of bringing it back to NBA. The NBA, I think more than ever, has become like this fascinating cauldron or ecosystem for lots of different people attempting to do what they think is comedy. Some of it great, some of it not great, to be honest. I'm just laying out just to put that as a spectrum from your perspective, right? As someone who's probably like, not to put like levels of qualifications on it, but like you've put in, I should say, like you've put in the reps. Like you're a person with reps in this. Like, what do you see in quote unquote the spectrum of comedy in the NBA or like on social media?
Yeah, I think I mean, to your point, I think a lot of people think they're doing comedy when they're just being mean. And I try my best to, because I do think there's a world where people are doing comedic things that I don't find funny, and that's fine. Like I'm okay with that. I think it's such a nuanced, like there's so many different types of it. So who am I to be like, this is how you do it? But I do think there are ways to not do it. And I think we are seeing a lot of that. And I think it's less about the NBA and more about like societally where we're at right now, where you only get any sort of attention. I mean, like Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it is like the best example of this right now, where everyone wants to like pop off, but you can only pop off by being awful. Like very rarely, unless it's like, what's your favorite 30 Rock quote, does something go viral without it being something terrible, whether it's a video of something terrible happening. Maybe we find some comedy in the terribleness, like shout out the Coldplay stuff this week. But for the most part, like especially in the NBA, it's just from a place of like, dude, this dude sucks. You think this guy's good? This guy sucks. And like, that's not comedy. I mean, every once in a while there's a funny thing in there, but for the most part, that's just like people being mean, I think. That doesn't mean that there's not comedy out there. I mean, I do think there are plenty of people doing some really fun stuff out there, both who are just like creators or Jeff Teague. But right, like there is still comedy out there. But I don't know. I'd be curious to see what your perspective is. But I think a lot of times people will send me stuff and be like, oh man, did you see this takedown? It's so funny. I'm like, that's not funny, man. Like I wish that dude would just, sign up using our promo code for BetterHelp and talk to somebody instead of taking it out instead of Kendrick Perkins taking it out on whoever this night. But I mean, it's from the top down. It's not even just like content creators. I mean, I joked about Kendrick Perkins, but I mean, this is like what sports media is now for the most part. And that's why when people don't do it, might be harder to get shine. But when they do break through, those things become like far more important than some of the other stuff,
Yeah, everything. I 100% agree. And I do have a lot of thoughts about this, I suppose. Like, I don't know. I've like, we've talked about this actually before a few times, I know, in our DMs, but like, I've had like a bit of a journey. I've had like a back and forth about like my content voice and like where do I fall in a spectrum of comedy, because I would say like so going back to like when I first started tweeting, I think like my default first step or first approach to how I was going to try to like make myself visible and build up a following and stuff was I felt compelled to be able to talk like about legitimate basketball, not sound, but like make myself knowledgeable about basketball, communicate that. But at the same time, like I realized like I'm just one guy out of millions of people in the whole world. So I gotta be able to say something that's going to get some attention or command their attention to a degree. And I have my sensibilities about humor. So I was like, I would just try to like bring together knowledgeable basketball content, but also tweak it in ways where it's like, I'm just going to be myself as far as like stuff that makes me laugh and see what happens. And like, I'll give you, I think the first ever bit I did on Twitter where it landed and I got some runway out of it. And like, yeah, I'll apologize up front, like, because this is it was at the expense of Jason Tatum, but this is like, I mean, just to like take what you're saying, right? Like, like not being me, I agree with you. I don't think like I think there's a way to tell a joke about somebody or be like, you can make a joke about somebody, but there's a difference between doing that and just being outright mean. So I had this running bit on Jason Tatum because this was like I think 2 or 3 seasons ago, and my preferred path when I would do comedic stuff or funny stuff on Twitter was I tried to lean it into as much absurdism as possible. I think that was my preferred sort of like approach to comedy. If I was going to do is like just do it absurd, because that way it kind of like it's going to mute. If there's anything that might be mean in what I'm saying, it should be muted by the fact that like I'm just saying something that's like kind of bonkers. You can't take it seriously.
Right. It's like clear that you were going over the top here.
It's so bizarre. So like out. It's just so weird. And like Norm Macdonald's a big comedic influence on me as well. And so like I learned a lot of absurdism just from like watching him over the years. I actually met him once and that was kind of cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I had this bit where Celtics were in town, they're playing Bulls are at home, and this happened to be a game where this was when the Bulls still had their pseudo big three of like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic.
Okay.
Patrick Williams, who's not really doing all that well these days, unfortunately, but at the time, at least there was still some hope and promise because he might have been in like his second or third year. He feels like frisky this particular game, and like he crossed over Jason Tatum 2 times. Like he cooked him straight up. He broke his ankles. And I reacted in the moment because this is when I'm still live tweeting Bulls games. I reacted like because I'm like I've never seen Patrick do that ever, and I'm like I'm just giving a genuine reaction. Like I tweet something like, "Oh, like Patrick cooked him," and then he cooked him again, and like I'm really going crazy. But then the thing that kind of sealed it for me, DeMar also got in on it. He hit him with the 2-piece and pulled up on him towards the end of the game. The Bulls already sealed it, and like I was just so hyped from that. And the idea popped in my head. I'm like, I'm going to just see how far I can take this bid. Like, let me just tweet every morning that, Patrick Williams cooked Jason Tatum's ankles. I did that for the whole rest of the season. And Bulls fans really got into it. It was good. And it's like, I'm making fun of Tatum, but the thing that made it made sure it didn't have an edge was like, every time I would do the bit, I would just say the most outlandish way of describing how Jason Tatum got cooked. I would be like, never forget that Patrick Williams salt cured Jason Tatum's ankles twice in the United States. I just ran with that for like a whole half season.
No, I love that. But yeah, you're right. Like it is clear what you're doing there. And that's less about, I mean, it is making fun of Tatum, but it's less about making fun of Tatum. And it's more because like if Zach LaVine did that and you tweeted that out every day, it's like, yeah, well, that kind of makes sense sometimes that LaVine would do it, but it's Patrick Williams. Yeah, it's Patrick Williams. Like I totally get it. I totally get that. Yeah, that works. I like that. I think like that you were talking about like finding your voice a little bit too. And I think that is something that it's okay to like feel that out as you go. Like, I think it's I think people feel pressure to be like, oh, I am going to be the expert of this, or I'm going to like, this is how I am going to do this. And I think like maybe, but also like be open to this like evolving over time, because you don't know, like, especially if you're just starting it, like you don't know yet. You have to do it for a while to get a feel for like, you know, what your vibe is, what your voice is. Like I knew going into it, I probably wasn't going to be able to be the expert, but if I was knowledgeable enough that all I needed to do is be like a little bit more knowledgeable than the rest of the chat, but still not being like, oh, I'm smarter than you, but just knowing that I am like locked into what's happening in the league, I can still like talk about it intelligently while having fun with it. But I never felt the pressure to be the expert. I never did, because I just didn't. I was like, I know there are so many more people that I listen to, watch, read, whatever, that are like way better at this than I am. And honestly, I use a lot of their information to help like formulate my own takes as well. But I think like being open to like the voice evolving, but I think that is an important part of it. Like I do think you need to figure out, you know, what you're not angle, but like what your voice is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, I'll bring it back to music as well, because I mean, starting out playing an instrument, I mean, all musicians kind of go through this, like, you know, your first like year, or like first, like when you're really trying to figure it out, at best, all you're doing is really just copying somebody. Like, you know,
100%.
if you're trying to learn guitar, you're probably trying to, you know, first year you're gonna sound like whoever. You're gonna sound like Kirk Weill. You're gonna sound like
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix, whoever. But it's like at some point you do that stuff enough, and you figure out like, well, how's my style? How's my voice working?
I think.
Oh man, yeah.
I think it was Conan was talking to, gosh, I think it was, we were listening to it in the car on a trip this weekend, Kesha, I think. And Conan was basically saying that is what comedy is. It's like you are trying to imitate someone, but you find your voice by failing to imitate that person. And I thought that was great. And I mean, I think about like when I was doing improv, I basically, anytime I would take in comedy, whether it's stand-up or improv, they were like, I was watching two different types. I was watching types that I think I could do and types that I would never do. Like I could never, like there was like anytime I saw, and I'm not saying I could do this, but anytime I saw Ben Schwartz improvise, which I was fortunate enough to see him do it a bunch, I was like, oh, I can do like he's just this like crazy charismatic dude. Like that is what he's very funny, but he's very charismatic. And I'm like, I could do like like there's something here that I can like take from this. And then they're like, I'm trying to think of a comedian that would be a good Zach Woods, who from Silicon Valley and a little stint in The Office. I've seen him improvise a bunch. There's not one time where I watched him and was like, oh, I could do a version of this. Like he's just insane. But I think it's important that it all comes from that. It all comes from like, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten into it. You know what I mean? Like if you weren't inspired by these musicians, you wouldn't have gotten into music. And same thing with comedy. I think that's it all starts there. And then you find your voice through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's in some ways it's also like, it's trying to, you know, solve a puzzle that you don't even have the pieces for yet, but you somehow in your mind know like, this is what the puzzle picture is supposed to be. I just don't have these pieces yet. And then you kind of like you are crafting the puzzle pieces as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great analogy.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been an amazing conversation, I have to say. And I can't believe we're already like well over an hour into this. Like it was a breeze.
Blame the Spurs, man. Blame the Spurs.
Spurs. Yeah, like we just ripped a pretty awesome Spurs.
Like a tight 15 on the Spurs.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to say that up front. Where can everybody find you? Where can everybody find your work?
Well, first, appreciate you having me come on, dude. This has been a blast. I've enjoyed reading some of your work over the last year and getting to know you a little bit through the comments. So I was honored, flattered that I was able to come on. You had some great guests already, so I hope people check it out. For my stuff, I host in season. It's closer to daily, but we're in the off seasons right now. But go check out the NBA Bit. That's more of a live streamed show. That's all things hoops. If you're into fantasy sports, we have a channel called Elite Fantasy Hoops, where we do a lot of basketball fantasy content. And then if you're a Celtics sicko, go check out the Celtics Daily. That's another YouTube channel. That's too many YouTube channels. We've already rattled off 3. That's too many. And then, you can follow me at Mike Zakarian, all that stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah. Appreciate it. And please check out all of Mike's great work. Just no shortage of content out there. Definitely follow him on X. And I think you're on Blue Sky also, right?
Yeah, over on Blue Sky, which I'm trying to be more active on there, honestly. I don't know if you're on Blue Sky, right?
I'm on Blue Sky. I've been lapsed for some time. I want to get back on there. It just seems like it's been pretty quiet over on that app.
I go through these like 4-day periods where I'm very active over there, but it's just not. I mean, I was on Twitter for like 15 years, so I always go to, or 16 years now. I always like, it's just a habit. It's muscle memory, like we're talking about. Like it's hard to break that. But
I mean, you mentioned earlier, like the Coldplay thing is. I think that's a prime example of why like nobody's ever going to fully let go of Twitter.
You can't. You can't.
That was bonkers.
It was nuts. It was nuts.
Well, cool. Yeah. Well, I will plug as well, of course. Please, everybody, like, subscribe, leave a comment on the Narratives Per Possession YouTube channel, and of course, also head over to our Patreon. We have a Patreon community there. It's growing with a lot of cool content. I aspire for that to really become like just an awesome NBA library, or like, for people who used to hang out in the Barnes and Noble. That's what I'm going after there. We're building up a lot of cool content, a lot, just want to continue to grow the community there and just make it a cool hang. So with that, thank you again, Mike. Really appreciate you hopping on today. And I know we'll talk more once we get back into the swing of the season. And until next time, narrators, take care.